Hello everyone, and welcome. Today, let's explore together a deeply human experience that many of us carry, the burning feelings of revenge. If you've ever found yourself consumed by thoughts of getting back at someone who hurt you, replaying scenarios in your mind, or feeling overwhelmed by anger that seems to consume your energy, please know that you're not alone. Today, we'll discover how recent neuroscience research reveals something remarkable about these intense feelings and how we might transform them into something genuinely constructive for our lives. The feelings of revenge are incredibly powerful, and for good reason. When someone wrongs us, our brain activates ancient survival mechanisms designed to protect us. Current research suggests that these feelings serve an important purpose, but they can also become destructive if we don't understand how to work with them effectively. Rather than fighting these feelings or acting on them impulsively, science shows us there might be a third path, one that honors the intensity of our experience while channeling it toward genuine healing and growth. Let me share what recent neuroscience research has revealed about the experience of revenge. A comprehensive study conducted by multiple universities found that when people contemplate revenge, it activates specific regions in the brain, particularly the caudate nucleus and ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These are the same areas associated with reward processing, which explains why revenge fantasies can feel so compelling and even satisfying in the moment. The research team discovered that people experience genuine pleasure responses when imagining punishment for those who wronged them. However, the same research also revealed something crucial. This neurological reward comes with a significant cost. Brain imaging studies show that revenge thoughts simultaneously activate stress response systems, creating what researchers describe as a bittersweet neurological experience. People report feeling tense, uncertain, and experiencing a sense of dread even while experiencing the reward response. This suggests that our brains are designed to find revenge both appealing and disturbing at the same time. Perhaps even more interesting is what happens when people actually act on revenge impulses. Research from an international organization found that people who pursued actual revenge reported less satisfaction than they anticipated, and often experienced increased anxiety and regret afterward. The study followed participants over several months and found that those who acted on revenge showed higher levels of stress hormones and decreased overall well-being compared to those who found alternative ways to process their anger. Now, here's where the research becomes particularly hopeful. Multiple studies have examined what happens when people redirect their revenge energy into constructive channels. A research institution conducted experiments where participants wrote about hurtful experiences, but instead of focusing on revenge, they were guided to identify personal benefits and growth opportunities from these difficult experiences. The results were remarkable. Participants reported becoming stronger, discovering unknown strengths within themselves, and developing greater wisdom. Brain scans showed that this benefit-finding process actually changed neural activity patterns, strengthening areas associated with emotional regulation while reducing activity in regions linked to rumination and stress responses. The researchers found that participants who practiced this approach showed measurably reduced stress hormones and increased markers of psychological well-being over time. Another fascinating area of research involves what scientists call energy psychology. Over 50 clinical trials have examined approaches that combine neuroscience insights with practical techniques for emotional transformation. These studies suggest that the intense energy generated by revenge feelings can be consciously redirected toward personal goals and healing, with results comparable to traditional therapeutic approaches. So how might we practically apply these research findings? Let me share some evidence-based approaches that many people have found helpful, while noting that everyone's experience is unique and what works may vary from person to person. The first approach is what researchers call neural reframing. When you notice revenge thoughts arising, rather than suppressing them or acting on them immediately, take a moment to acknowledge them without judgment. Research suggests that suppression often backfires, increasing the intensity of unwanted thoughts. Instead, you might spend about 5 minutes writing down exactly what happened and how it affected you. This validates your experience and gives your feelings proper recognition. Then, the crucial next step involves shifting your focus. Take another 5 minutes to write about 3 potential strengths this experience might help you develop. Perhaps it's teaching you about boundaries, helping you recognize your own resilience, or clarifying what you value in relationships. Research indicates that this benefit-finding process literally changes brain structure over time, strengthening areas associated with growth and emotional regulation. A second approach involves what scientists call approach motivation redirection. When revenge thoughts arise, instead of imagining harm coming to the other person, try visualizing yourself achieving a meaningful goal that demonstrates your strength and resilience. Brain imaging studies suggest this activates similar reward pathways as revenge fantasies, but builds constructive neural patterns instead of destructive ones. For example, if someone undermined you at work, instead of imagining their failure, you might visualize yourself excelling in your field, developing new skills, or contributing to projects you care about. The key is channeling that intense energy towards something that genuinely serves your well-being and growth. A third evidence-based technique involves progressive challenge application. Research suggests that revenge energy, when properly channeled, provides extraordinary motivation for achievement precisely because it carries such intense emotional charge. Many people have found success identifying a meaningful project or goal and dedicating themselves to it with the same intensity they felt toward revenge. This might involve pursuing education, developing a creative project, contributing to a cause you care about, or working toward personal health and fitness goals. The research indicates that this approach not only provides healthy outlets for intense emotions but often leads to genuine life improvements that outlast the original hurt. The fourth approach focuses on building what researchers call cognitive control capacity. This involves practicing emotional redirection with smaller daily frustrations first, then gradually applying these skills to more significant hurts. Studies show that people who build this capacity through consistent practice develop greater resilience and emotional regulation overall. For instance, when someone cuts you off in traffic or is rude in line at the store, you might practice immediately shifting your attention to something you're grateful for or a goal you're working toward. This builds the neural pathways that make it easier to redirect more intense revenge impulses when they arise. Finally, research supports establishing what we might call a neuroplasticity maintenance practice. This involves setting aside a few minutes each day to notice any revenge thoughts that arose and consciously identify how you might use that energy constructively instead. Neuroscience research confirms that this type of consistent practice builds lasting neural pathways that automatically redirect destructive impulses toward growth and healing. It's important to note that this transformation process takes time and patience with yourself. Research suggests that changing deeply ingrained emotional patterns is a gradual process that requires consistent practice and self-compassion. Some days will be easier than others, and that's completely normal. Also, if you're dealing with serious trauma or ongoing harmful situations, these techniques work best as part of a broader support system that might include professional counseling, trusted friends, or support groups. The research emphasizes that transformation approaches are most effective when people feel safe and supported. To summarize what we discussed today, let me share 6 key points that research suggests might be helpful to remember. First, revenge feelings activate brain reward centers but also create psychological conflict and stress. Second, benefit-finding practices can literally rewire neural pathways toward growth and resilience. Third, energy psychology techniques show genuine clinical effectiveness in multiple trials. Fourth, approach motivation redirection builds constructive reward patterns in the brain. Fifth, daily practice strengthens cognitive control over destructive impulses. And sixth, transformed revenge energy can provide powerful motivation for meaningful achievement. The research consistently points toward hope. Your brain's remarkable capacity for change means that today's painful feelings can become tomorrow's fuel for extraordinary growth and contribution. This doesn't minimize the real hurt you've experienced, but it does suggest that you have more power over your response than you might realize. Transformation is possible, and many people have found that their greatest challenges became catalysts for their most meaningful growth. I hope today's discussion provided some helpful perspectives as you navigate your own healing journey. If today's discussion provided any support or new insights, please hit the like button. If you'd like to continue learning about mental health and emotional well-being together, please subscribe to our channel. Remember that healing is a journey, not a destination, and every small step forward matters. May your heart feel a little lighter, and thank you for listening until the end today.